welcome to Morpholio Trace. In this video, we'll learn how to use trace settings, how to navigate the support and help areas, how to use the wrench to control in-app settings, how to use secret hand gestures, scale tool gestures, and how to use the double tap features that are associated with your Apple Pencil 2. Let's get started. So your trace settings are located up here at the top in the gear icon, and you can see there's all sorts of different categories here for different settings. So at the very top is where you can see your Trace Pro settings, and this includes what your Pro status is. So it'll either say basic or premium or essentials or pro here, and it also will give you a little date to understand when the subscription is expiring. Below that is a really important button that is restore purchases, and this is really helpful if you ever get a new device and you are trying to transfer your subscription from one device to another. First, be sure that you're signed into the same iTunes account, the same Apple ID account in the App Store, and then you can tap restore purchases. It will bring up the Pro Store. You can select the subscription that you want to restore, and you can see that it's restored, and now you'll have full access that you had on your other device. Below that are your Apple Pencil settings, and these are some really important ones that have to do with your Apple Pencil. So the first one is turning on pencil only drawing, and what that does is it lets you only make marks with your pencil. You'll no longer be able to use your finger to draw. But what that also does is it lets you rest your palm on the screen, and you can draw really comfortably without accidentally making marks with your palm as you're drawing. So it's just like drawing on paper then. When you have pencil only mode turned on, you can also turn on one finger pan, and what this allows you to do is to use one finger to move around your drawing without rescaling it, and we'll take a look at that once we get into the project later on. Below that is a custom double tap behavior that's only for the Apple Pencil 2, which allows custom double tap functionality, and I'll show you what those special features are later on. Below that are your Titleblock settings for when you're exporting. You can change your company logo, your company name, and you can decide whether or not you want to include the date in the title block. Below that are your app settings, and these are some really key ones here, where you're setting some kind of major functions of how you use the app. So at the very top is the ability to change your scale. You can either use imperial measurements or metric, and that will set your tools, that will set how you add scale as a default. Below that is the layer color, so you can change it from canary, buff, which is black, or white. I like to use white trace, so I have it set to that. So every new layer of trace is added in white. Below that are your color, the color setting for your tools, for your ruler, for your triangle. And since I use white as a default, I like to have my tools set to dark. That way there's a good contrast there. If you maybe have it set to buff, maybe you would want to use a lighter tool to offset and to provide better contrast. Below that is a feature called Stack Layers, and if you turn on Stack Layers, what happens is instead of making a layer that is the size of the screen every time you make a new layer, when Stack Layers is on, it creates a layer that is the same size as the base layer, and that allows you to make the same size layer every time you add a layer, instead of getting different sizes as you zoom in and out. Now, if you want higher resolution, sometimes you need to turn Stack Layers off, zoom into your drawing, and then create a new smaller layer to get a better resolution for smaller details or for stencils sometimes. I typically like to leave that toggle off, but some people really enjoy that feature. Below that is the undo redo gestures, and that is something we'll get into later, but basically you can use 2 and 3 fingers to undo and redo. If you don't like that feature, you can turn it off so you don't accidentally undo or redo your drawing. And then below that is a feature that we had a huge amount of requests for, left-hand mode for all of our lefty users. And what that does is it switches the toolbars, the color and brush toolbars typically on the left, the layers are on the right, and when you turn on left-hand mode, it actually flips them so they are in reverse, and we can take a quick look at that using this beautiful plan drawing by Mike Morrissey. You can see typically this might look funny to some of us. The brush toolbar is on the right and the layer toolbar is on the left, and that way when you're using your left hand and drawing, you're not accidentally changing your brushes like we might be if we're right-handed using the left-hand mode. Below that are your account settings, where if you hit edit, you can change your photo, you can change your description and your website that you have associated with your account. And at the very bottom are some helpful links to some other things. So you can take a look at the welcome tour again to get some introductory videos and to see some hints and tricks. You can tap on help and support, and let's take a look really quickly at that. When you tap the help and support, you're brought up to your browser to our support page, where we have this amazing new support all portal here. And what's really amazing about this is you can type in any question that you have about Trace and you'll get all different resources. So let's look up stencils, hit enter, and now you can see it's going to link you to the YouTube video about stencils. It's linking you to a Medium blog about how to make custom stencils. And then below that are some frequently asked questions that might help answer one of your questions relating to that. So, and here you can search really anything related to the app and it will come up answering your questions really efficiently. If you need more help or just want to browse our support items, you can look at our videos on YouTube. You can look at our user guide, which is a great PDF with lots of helpful hints to get started. You can also request a feature if there's something in the app that you don't see right now and you'd like the app to support. And then there's the Trace blog, where you can read some of the latest news and information about the app. Below that are some important notes, a reminder to never delete the app, to make sure that you save all your work, and to, before you report an issue, to make sure that you're using the latest iOS and the latest version of the app. And then below that is a little portal where you can submit a question if you have a specific question that wasn't answered by any of the materials in the areas above. So now we'll go back to Trace. So that was in the support and help button. And then report a problem will bring you right to that contact page. Amazing sketch by Joshua Jones of Studio Zarin. So now let's take a look. So inside project settings is the ability to set your scale. When you first start a project, there's a button here that allows you to set your scale. If you set that and you want to change it again later, just go to project settings, scale, set scale, and you'll be able to be brought back to set your scale. Below that is, again, the ability to change your units, and this is just for inside of the single project. You can change from imperial to metric. The video feature inside the project settings is a really special one, and if we turn that on, what it does is it's going to record every stroke that you make in your drawing. So let's just test this out. I'm going to turn on this layer. I'm going to turn on my super ruler to help me do some drawing here. And let's just take a look at what happens if I start to add some drawings here based on what Joshua has done. And we'll just try to test something different out here. Not saying that we are necessarily improving anything by no means, but just trying out a different design. And maybe we add some slats. Maybe we don't like that actually. So maybe we try to add some shade with our highlighter tool and add in a little opening there. Cool. So now that we've done that, if we go back to our project settings in our wrench and we do a time-lapse replay, we can turn this on and you can see that it is running through our process really nicely, and we can control that here and watch the strokes build up. And then what's amazing is you can export that video and share it to social media, share it to Instagram, or just keep it for your own reference. Sometimes clients like to see the sketching process, and that can be a really exciting way to demonstrate a concept idea, to see the drawing kind of build up. And that's all available there. You can export it and send it out. Now let's take a look at some of our project settings. And if we go to preferences in the project settings, you'll see that there is a option for layer drop shadows. And if we turn that toggle off, let's take a look. See how the drop shadow is turning on and off when I do that? So if I turn that off and then I do my 4-finger tap, now we're in this beautiful presentation mode where we can just take a look at the drawing. We're not seeing any of the other layer drop shadows that might be distracting and might look like lines, and we can just really enjoy and understand what's happening in this drawing on its own. Now let's take a look at what rotation snap does. So when we are moving around our drawing using 2 fingers to pan, you'll see and you'll notice that the drawing kind of snaps to 0 when I'm moving, right? But if we don't like the way that that works, if you want to just be able to move it around as you'd like, you can turn off the rotation snap, and now we aren't getting that snap, so it's much easier to get to a 1 or 2 degree rotation. Another trick though with this, if you do have rotation snap turned on and you are getting snap to 0, if you rotate 3 times, then suddenly you have full functionality, full ability to rotate to those fine degrees of 1 and 2 degrees. So this also works for our tools if we're rotating the ruler and we want to get beyond the 90 or beyond the 0 degree. If we rotate it back and forth 3 times, now you can see I'm getting 88, 89, and I can set those much more fine angles than we would be able to. And in the last section is the help, and again, all of our features are there. So the user guide is really helpful. There are just a ton of other sections that go over every part of the drawing in more detail to give you an overview and an introduction as to how to use and work in Morpholio Trace most efficiently. The quick button guide gives you a little bit of navigation around the toolbars themselves, helps you understand what is what, and might offer some insight there. The how-to videos goes to our YouTube channel, which is full of tutorials, introduction videos to help you further explain the app. The help and support button again goes to the browser, to our support page, where you can ask a question and find the resources that you need to answer your question. You can request a feature, report a problem, or you can go to our community blog right from in here, and this is where you can read some of the latest news. The other things that are included in this blog are some news events, like us being featured at the Apple special event during WWDC, other top sketches, some trace tips from people like David Drozil, and other announcements are all posted to our community blog there. So we'll start by looking at some basic gestures of navigation. Like we mentioned, when you have pencil-only mode turned on, you can use 1 finger to pan around your drawing. And what's nice about this is you're able to move around the drawing without resizing and changing the scale of the drawing. So if you're working at a particular scale, you can just navigate the drawing without having to zoom in and out. If you do want to zoom in and out, you have your 2-finger pinch, obviously, where you can zoom into something really detailed. You can zoom out to see the entire drawing itself, and then use a finger to pan around. So the other secret gesture that we'll talk about is the 3-finger drag for moving layers. So just like regular trace paper, you can move layers around like you would to be able to try out different parts of your drawing and to move it around to be able to navigate your drawing. If you don't like that move or you want to just undo it, you have your 2-finger gesture. So if we tap 2 fingers, my layer is being replaced to where it was previously. And if we want to bring it back again to redo, we can just use 3-finger tap again to redo those actions. And undo it, bring it back to the regular position. This also works for strokes. So if we have made some strokes here and we don't like them because this drawing is already beautiful as it is, we can just use our 2-finger tap to undo it or 3 fingers to redo it again. So those are some really helpful quick gestures. The other thing that we can do is we can use 4 fingers to hide all of the toolbars. And this is really, really helpful for when you're sketching and drawing and you don't want all of the toolbars in the way. You just want to be able to look at your drawing and sketch. You can just use 4 fingers to tap and remove all those or bring them back. A couple other gestures that are really special have to do with our scale tools. So we have our scale ruler, our super ruler, that we're familiar with some of the other videos that we've done. But one thing that's really special is that if you double tap the ruler, you can see that we rotate it 90 degrees. There's also the button here, but this is a nice, quick, easy gesture. Same thing works with the triangle. Double tap it to rotate it. Super helpful. With stencils, this is a helpful feature as well. You can double tap to rotate the drawing. Maybe you don't want to do that with people so much, but if you have a tree and you want to get a variety of trees, you can quickly rotate it, move it, and continue on. And with the Protractor, if we convert it using the yellow dots into an ellipse and we want to get back our circle, all we have to do again is double tap the Protractor and we are back to our perfect circle mode. The last thing that I'm going to talk about now are some of the Apple Pencil 2 features that are included with the double tap. So if you have your pencil turned on in your device settings and you also have the custom double tap behavior turned on in your trace settings, which is here, if you have that toggled on, then we'll open up this project by Joshua Gregg, another fantastic architect and sketcher. And this one also was featured this month in the top 20 trace sketches. So always be sure to post your drawings to Instagram and tag Morpholio, caption made in Morpholio Trace, and we'll see them, and then they could end up in a feature like this when we demonstrate different parts of the app and different features. So always be doing that. So let's take a look now at our Pencil 2 features. So if we go to our scale settings, before we know that we had the double tap there when we use 2 fingers, but you can also double tap the pencil and the tool will rotate automatically. Same thing with the triangle. And the same behavior works with the ellipse as well, where we can change it, double tap, and we're brought back to our circle. Very handy. With stencils, instead of rotating like we're able to do with our double tap finger, when we double tap the pencil, it's actually changing, and maybe we'll slide over to a blank screen here. It's actually changing the stencils and rotating through the options here, and you can see what I'm doing is tapping the pencil, and we're getting to rotate through the David Drizzle stencils. With the guide here, and you can see how this is set up. If you were drawing in perspective, if we want to turn off, maybe I'll bring that guide down here to make it a little more visible. If we double tap, you can turn off and on that guide. So if it's getting in your way, just double tap the pencil and that guide will be removed when you're in perspective drawing mode. And the last one here is the Smart Fill feature. If we double tap when we're in Smart Fill, it will automatically bring up the palette so you can change the color of the color that you're filling. And again, we can change that just really quickly using the double tap. So the Apple Pencil 2 has a lot of really amazing features built inside of it that are customizable in Trace by turning the custom double tap behavior on in the Trace settings. The last thing that I'll show you is that there are also some Apple Pencil settings in your device settings as well. So you can see here that there is the ability to change between the current tool and the eraser, the current tool and the last brush that you used, or just to turn on color palettes. I like the tool and eraser switch on and off back for the most part. So if we go back to Trace, go to Settings, and now we have to turn off the custom tap behavior because this will allow you to override that setting. And go back to our project. Now you can see that if I start to sketch and I'm making these lines, if I realize that I don't want those lines, I can just double tap, and now I have my eraser, make it a little smaller, and I can start to remove some of those lines that I was making previously, and then I can double tap again. Double tap again, and I am back in my chisel brush and can start making new lines. So maybe we won't do that for this beautiful sketch by Joshua Gregg, but that's another way of working with the custom double tap and the double tap behavior by your Apple Pencil 2. Thanks for watching, and be sure to check out our other how-to videos.